Y'all, today's show is so good.
But number one, I've never seen an intro like that.
It is my hope and desire that not only will episode 30 still be fun, but episode 300 will be even more fun. You are made for something great, so go and be awesome.
Ten seconds remaining.
Hello, and welcome to the show. My name is Renee Hastings, and I'm your host of Renee Speaks. Y'all, today's episode is brought to you by Executive Help Now, and it is powered by live stream editors. At Executive Help Now, we are all about simplifying your business so you can focus on what really matters. From streamlining operations and managing your back office, to producing podcast shows and keeping everything organized. Our team is here to help you thrive. So if you're ready to make your life just a little bit easier, hit us up at www.executivehelpnow.org. Y'all, today's guest, I'm so super excited for this special edition of Renee Speaks. Abraham Gray is a serial entrepreneur, a real estate investor, and a private lender who started his first business at the age of 15. And he earned his first $1 million by the age of 19. He has since acquired, operated, and sold more than 400 businesses. Since entering real estate in 1998, Abraham has bought, rented, and sold over 1,000 properties. Today, he owns hundreds of rental properties and operates a successful lending business built on decades of investing and an entrepreneurial experience. Y'all, put your hands together for Abraham Gray.
Hey, how's it going?
I am very, very good. It's even better now.
Yeah, me too.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. I've heard so many fantastic things about you. Your story is just incredible. Christelle is saying hi. Hi, Christelle. And she says, hi, Abraham.
Hey,
Super excited to have you on the show today. As I was mentioning a little bit before this show started, before we aired, I have a passion for real estate, and the company that actually moved me from Wisconsin to Georgia was a real estate development company. I was just, sharing with you, and we invested in low-income housing tax credits, and these developments were mixed-use properties with residential and commercial and retail. There's green space always involved because the units, the affordable housing units, were for those with low income, median income, and even some market rate units. And all of the units were luxury dwellings. So all of that together just made me so proud to be a part of being able to help someone who may not be able to afford a nice place actually get to live in a nice space. And so I kind of can relate to that. Part of the reason maybe why you do what you do is seeing the effect that home ownership can have on a person and just change the trajectory of their lives and the impact that it can have. Would you say that's kind of one of your reasonings behind what you do?
Yeah, 100%. It's so cool to see a first-time home buyer or someone move into a house that you've renovated. It's super nice, and you help them get into a house like that.
Yeah, for sure. And Jamal says, Renee speaks on a Thursday. Awesome. Yeah, it's not Friday at 1 o'clock. So thank you for joining us, Jamal. This is awesome. So, Abraham, tell us a little bit. Everyone usually starts the podcast with their journey, their backstory, that sort of thing. And today's not going to be much different. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about Abraham before 15? What was
Yeah.
life like for Abraham before 15?
So my parents got divorced when I was a baby, before I was 1 years old. So I ended up living with my mom for a while, but I was a troublemaker. I never behaved in school. I always got in fights. I was the class clown. So eventually, it didn't work out. I ended up moving to with my dad when I was about 8 or 9, and same thing happened there. I didn't get along with him because he just got remarried, and I was just a troubled kid in school, so he couldn't handle me. So I ended up moving to foster families when I was 11, 12 years old, and went from one foster family to another foster family to another. Ended up not working out in any of them because I was just a bad kid. And I ended up in a boarding school for kids that don't behave. And I was there for a little bit over a year. I got out, and then I went to a few more foster families. And eventually, when I was 15, I ended up in Atlanta. So we're both in Atlanta together now. But I moved with my grandmother. My grandmother lived here, and since I moved in with her, I started to behave better, and my trajectory of life changed. But I've been here ever since I was 15, and I'm 51 years old this year. So I've been here over 30, almost 36 years. But I collected sports cars my whole life. And when I moved to Atlanta, I started going to sports card shows, and I would love to buy cards. And eventually some of the people would buy some cards from me. I'd buy some cards from other people. And I saw that you could make money doing it. And that was my first business. I turned the sports cards into a business. And eventually, instead of just walking around buying and selling to dealers and at different shows, I ended up buying a booth. And from there, I just took off. And every year I got better and better at it. And I was making really good money in high school just selling sports cards.
Wow. Well, thank God for grandmas.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So what do you think it was about living with her and being under her roof that made a difference in your life?
Yeah, I just we had a lot in common. I had good talks with her. She had a lot of life experience. I was able to listen to her, and it just made sense. Where with my mom and my dad, we just didn't get along. They just didn't have the time. Like, my mom was a single mom. She was working all the time, so I didn't see her that much. And then with my dad, he just got remarried, so it was an awkward situation when I moved there because I had a stepmom. And he the way he disciplined me was he would just beat me. He would just beat me all the time if I didn't behave. And with my grandmother, it was different. She had the time. She was always there. She wasn't working. We had good conversations, and it just clicked. So I would think that that's mainly what it was. Now, my parents had me when they were 20 years old. So when I think about when I was 20 years old, having to raise kids, if I had to raise kids when I was 20, I was like, holy shit, I was immature. I didn't know what I was doing. So that's pretty young for most people.
Yeah.
I have 3 kids, but I had them all in my 30s. And if I had them when I was 20, I'd be like, wow, it would have been a totally different situation with them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I can testify. I was a teen mom. I was 16 when I had my son. And so, yeah, it's hard. It's super hard trying to figure out life, trying to figure out, how to keep food on the table and a roof over your head, and having all this responsibility at a very young age. It's hard. It really is. So as Avid Mora says, grandmas are the best. Grandmas absolutely are the best. And now we have grandkids, and it's so important to us even now, no matter how old they are, to be there for them and let them know that we're here for them, and to be that sounding board, or to help them navigate life's challenges and just different things like that. So I can definitely relate on so many levels.
And I was closer with my grandmother than any other person for a long time, until she died back like 1999. She died, but yeah, we were just close, and we clicked, and I didn't want to let her down. I didn't want to disappoint her. I wanted her to to be proud. So
Yeah,
just
for
try to do
sure.
what I can.
Wow, that's awesome. And so is she pretty much who inspired did she have a business background? Did she teach you about
So yeah,
business?
she no one really taught me. I just picked it up all on my own. But she did have a business background, but she never really talked about it much because the few times I talked to her about her business background, she had really hard stories that she had bad experiences in her business, and she didn't
Mhm,
like talking about it because it hurt her and her husband. My grandfather, he
mhm,
died before, when I was like 1 or 2 years old, so I never knew him. But they
mhm,
had some businesses. They had in downtown Atlanta, they had some clothing stores and stuff like that, which I think did good. But they invested a lot of their money into different apartment buildings in Atlanta. And she never talked about it much. I would get her once in a blue moon to talk about it, but I know that they invested a lot of money in different in the inner city of Atlanta, and it went bad. So I think that's how they lost most of their money because
mhm.
they had like lots of tenants that didn't pay that would vandalize stuff, and they even had a partner in it that wanted to collect money and got killed one time or something. So
Oh
they
my
have she had a traumatic experience with real estate, so we never talked about it. So I learned all that on my own years later, after
Mhm,
she passed, just from other people that were good at it. But
mhm.
yeah, but they were entrepreneurs, but we just never really got to talk about it too much.
Wow, wow. Well, I'm so sorry for her traumatic experiences in real estate. Daryl Castillo, though, says a self-taught business owner. Cool. So, yeah, well, these are coming from like the school of hard knocks almost. It's like lessons learned. Like, yes, yes, do this, or no, that doesn't work. Don't do that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely learned a lot on my own. But one thing that I always did was whatever business I was in at the time, I would go and spend time with the people that were the best at that particular business. And I got really good friends with
Mhm,
them, and I learned a lot from them. So I did learn a lot from people in the industries I was in. But it was
mhm,
just from me wanting to be around those people and figuring out ways to do deals back and forth with people and make money. If you can
mhm,
figure out ways to help somebody, and how do you help someone? You help someone by making them money. That's
mhm,
ultimately what matters, right? If you can help somebody make money, then
mhm,
they like you more and they end up, helping you more. So I figured out ways to do deals with all these people that were the best in the industry, and we would buy and sell stuff back and forth. We both made money at the same time, but if they're making money, they're more likely to help you and want to do stuff with you. So that's what I did. I figured out ways to make money with the best of the best in the industries I was in always. Even today, I still do that with some of the stuff I'm in. And
mhm.
you learn a lot from them because they help you because you make money together.
Right. Wow. Well, that is so packed with so many gems. First of all, you had the wherewithal to know, I don't know it all. I have goals. Apparently, you have goals, places you want to go, things you want to do with your life. And you don't really have anyone in your inner circle that can help you get where you want to go. So, how wise it was for you to know that you needed to talk to other people who are or who were where you wanted to go.
Yeah,
And then to have the courage to actually do it.
yeah.
Where do
I
you
mean,
think that came from?
I had a drive. I just had a drive to always do better, always make more money, always progress. And no matter what it was, I just did whatever I had to do it. And what's the worst
Mhm,
thing that could happen is they reject you. Okay, then you find somebody else. So not everyone's going to take you in and work with you, but if you don't
mhm.
ask people, you don't try, then no one's going to. But if you ask a lot of people, you're gonna find a few good ones.
That's right, that's right. What those are some wise words. Just ask. Don't be afraid to ask for help. That is what I'm taking away from
Even
that.
even even a step further than that, like instead of just going and asking for help, I try to figure out a way to help them before I ask for help. So I don't if you just ask people for
Mhm,
help, a lot of people will help you, a lot of people won't. But if you're able to
mhm.
help them before you ask them for help, they're almost always going to help you. So that's my
Yeah.
key with everybody. I try to get in everyone's good side. I get everyone to like me, whether it's I help them make money, whether it's I help them with some problems in their life. I always do something first to get them. I give them something, and then once I give somebody something, they're pretty much almost always willing to give you something back, and then that's the way to do it. So instead of asking people for help, figure out a way to bring value to someone without asking them how to bring value. Because if you ask someone how can I bring value to you, now they got to think about it, and everybody asks that. You just got to figure out a way and do it. Be creative and
Right.
know the person. And once you do that, and they see that you did all this without them telling you how, and it benefits them, they're going to become good friends with you. They're going to help you with whatever you want.
Right. Hearing you say that makes me think about like a husband and wife. If a husband asks his wife what she wants for her birthday, it's like, I shouldn't have to tell you what I want for my birthday. You should know. So when you're observant and when you see different people going, dealing with different things, and you have that perception of something that's missing, a gap, and you're able to fill that, then that's what we should do always before asking for anything, is what
Of
I
course.
think I'm hearing you say.
Of course. And even in business, if you go into a store, they're going to be, oh, do you want a water? And, do you want a candy or something? They have like little mints or waters. They do that because once they give you something, now you feel obligated to give them something back. So it's the same concept. And people that do that make a lot more money because they have a lot more customers, and they have a lot more people that feel they owe you something back. So it's just something to think about no matter what you do.
Right. And you've shown, they've taken a personal interest in you.
Yeah.
And it's easy to do business with people who take a personal interest in you.
Exactly.
So that is so cool. So from 15 to 19, you're out here hustling, you've got your cards, you're doing shows, you're meeting people. Is that when you made your first million, was with the cards, or was it when in real estate then?
No. So I didn't even get into real estate yet. So this is still back in like 1989, in the early 90s. That's when I got into baseball cards big time. And I made my first. So when I was 15, I was making $400 or $500 a week, and then eventually when I was 16, I was making 1,000 to multiple thousand a week. By the time I was 17, I was making thousands and thousands a week. 18, even more. 19, I was making a lot. So I was able to save $1 million in my bank account. I have a snapshot of it. When I was 19, I had $1 million cash in my bank account. It wasn't like money I made. This was like real money that I had. And then I always just reinvested my money. So every time, I never wasted money on anything stupid. Everything I ever used my money for was an investment. I would buy stuff that would make me more money. And that's how I made my first money. So this is back in like the 1994. That's when I had that $1 million in my account. And then a few years later, I got into my next business because in baseball card shows back in 1997, which I was already in my early 20s, Beanie Babies became really, really popular. It was like the hottest thing back in 1997, 98, 99. And that's what I got into, because these women started selling Beanie Babies at baseball card shows. And I made fun of them at first. I was like, why are these selling stupid stuffed animals at baseball card shows? Doesn't make sense. And then I eventually, over a period of weeks or months, I saw that their booths were busier than my booths. And so I went over, what did I do? I started becoming friends with them. I tried to figure out ways to make them like me, and ask them, how did they, buy this stuff? Why are people buying it for this much? How much money are you making on it? And how you get it, and all these different things. And then I learned the business, and I got really big into that. I ended up a year or two later selling all my sports cards. I quit doing sports cards, and I was the biggest Beanie Baby dealer in the country. At one point, I was buying tractor trailers of Beanie Babies and selling them to Walmarts and grocery stores and drugstores, because you couldn't get them. Ty Warner, who was the starter of Beanie Babies, would only sell them to little mom and pop stores. So I figured out a way to connect with every mom and pop store, try to get them to sell me everything, and then I would resell it to the bigger stores that bought it for high prices. And sometimes they didn't make much money on it, but it was a loss leader to get lots of customers in their stores. So that was how I made my first $10 million in Beanie Babies. I was really, really big on Beanie Babies. I did that for many years. And,
wow. So hold on. First of all, I have to tell you my Beanie Baby story.
Yes.
So I was one of those women who would go crazy over the very rare, just came out Beanie Babies.
It was crazy.
And I remember when McDonald's started selling them or giving them away in the Happy Meals, the smaller ones. And there was a collection, and I went around, I'm going to easily say, to 10 different McDonald's trying to complete my set of Beanie Babies for my sons who wanted them. But yeah, we know it was for me.
Yeah. Same thing. I mean, I probably knew thousands of McDonald's. I would go to everyone and buy them, because But I would talk to the managers or the owners and buy cases of them and resell them. It was so much money, and it was crazy.
Yeah, I remember. I was one of those crazy people spending. I'm trying to think at the height of my Beanie Baby craze. I'm probably sure I had at least 50, 50
Yeah.
to somewhere 50, 60, 70, which was probably small potatoes, compared to some other people who had
Yeah, but
thousands.
they were hard to get. So back in 1997, stores sold them for $5 to $6 retail, but
Mhm,
but they were always sold out. Like you couldn't get them in
mhm,
1997. 1997, they were always sold out. So
mhm.
um, you would have to go onto eBay or whatever, and you'd pay like double or sometimes 5 times the price for a lot of them. And every single one you bought for $5, $6, you could sell for $10 to $25, no problem. As many as you
Yeah.
can get. It was just hard to get them.
Yep,
So
exactly. Yep, Naomi, she remembers. She said, "I had only had one." Well,
yeah.
at least you got the one, Naomi.
So what's really crazy about Beanie Babies is I used to go around. I had a list of every store that sold them in Atlanta, and really in other states too, but in Atlanta mainly because that's where I was at. And I
Mhm.
would call every single day. Did you get your shipment? Did you get because they were gone as soon as they got them in. And then I started talking to managers and people that worked at the store owners to see if they would just sell me big quantities, even if I pay them more than retail, just to get just to get a quantity because I had them sold for more.
Mhm.
And there was one particular store that I used to go to, and that's how I met my wife. My wife worked in a store, and I met her from buying Beanie Babies.
Mhm.
So it was in underground Atlanta. She worked at a store called Expressions. It doesn't exist
Mhm.
anymore. I don't know. You remember
Mhm.
Social Expression? You know
I
underground
I
Atlanta.
think it was yeah, it was there, 'cause I moved to Atlanta in '95, and, yeah, so I was down in Underground, and I think I do remember Social Expression.
Yeah. So I used to go there and buy their Beanie Babies. I used to buy Beanie Babies from hundreds of stores here. That was one of them. And yeah, that's how I met my wife. And so
Wow,
we've been together since 1997. That's how long I've been with my wife, 29
wow.
years or something crazy.
Hey,
And
hold on. That deserves applause because being married for 29 years, that is a really big deal.
yeah. Um, and something a really cool another fact, just whatever throughout there is I have 3 kids with her, and
Mhm.
I named all my kids after my businesses. So my oldest kid, his name is Ty.
That is so awesome. Because I was gonna ask you, did you name them after the beanies?
My oldest one, because that's how I met my wife. So I met my wife. I
Right.
also made a lot of money on it, and so my oldest son is named after Beanie Babies because they were Thai Beanie Babies. So
Yeah, yeah. I
plus I
remember.
always like short names. I never liked long names. I always hated my name, my Abraham. It's like old fashioned, like 100-year-old people are named Abraham. It was just a stupid name. Like dad named me Abraham, whatever. But so ever since growing up, I never liked my name. And
Mhm.
I was like, man, I wish someone named me like a short name with 2, 3 letters max, and just something that everybody knows and whatever, and it's
Mhm.
more newer. So I named all my kids, like short names, but relevant to like different businesses I had, just so there was a meaning to it. But yeah,
Mhm.
so Ty is about as short as you can get. I don't think there's any names with one letter. I don't think. Uh,
Yeah, I don't think so.
so it's
Maybe a
just
symbol.
yeah, Prince. Yeah. So, but yeah, so I named them Ty, and that's from Beanie Babies.
Wow, that is so awesome. And the other 2, what are those other businesses?
So the business I made the absolute most money in, I had in 2007 to 2014. It was a 7-year period. I had this business. It was I had over 300 jewelry stores, and we bought gold and diamonds and watches and really anything of value. We ended up buying gift cards and all kinds of other stuff, but and cell phones. So that business was what I named my second kid after. It was the jewelry business, and if you know anything about gold and jewelry, everything is measured in ounces, right? But they're not measured in regular ounces. There's 2 types of ounces. There's ounces for milk, which is regular ounces, and then there's ounces for jewelry or metals or whatever. They're called troy ounces. So a troy ounce and a regular ounce are actually about 10% different. So if you have a scale and you have a setting and you go ounces, troy ounces, pounds, you'll see that troy ounces is different. So anyway, I named him Troy after troy ounces. So
Wow.
that's how my second kid got his name. And the jewelry business was by far my most profitable business that I've had. Although I've had lots of other good businesses since then and before that, but that one was crazy. I had a partner in that business, and me and my partner together, we made over $100 million in profit in
Wow.
that 7-year period.
Wow.
So that's always a business that, it was really cool because it was the most profitable one I had to date.
Wow. Well, congrats. That is awesome and very impressive. And one of the things I keep hearing you kind of as a thread going through this entire conversation so far is the importance of relationships. Like the relationships you had with those store owners, the relationships that you had with your partner to build your jewelry business. Relationships to me seem like have been critical to your success.
You've got to get people to like you. If you cannot get people to like you, you're never going to be successful.
Mhm.
I mean, every single thing I've done, every single way I've made money is I got people to like me. If you get
Mhm.
people to like you, they'll do anything you want. There's nothing, if you like someone, you trust someone, you'll do anything for them, almost, depending on who it is, whatever. But if you don't
Mhm.
like someone or you don't trust someone, you probably won't do it. Well, you definitely won't do anything for them.
Right.
So I'm always super positive. I'm always very nice to everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be, a rich person, you could be a homeless person. It doesn't matter. I'm nice to everyone. And you
Mhm.
just never know when it's going to come back to, around. And it's just really important to treat everyone good. And not only do the people see that you're doing that too, but people around you see that, and that's important because you want people to treat you the same way. And usually, what goes around comes around. So it's
Mhm.
important to do that, and that's how you make more money. That's how you have a better life, and you have less
Mhm.
problems.
Yeah, those are great principles to live by in personal and business
Yeah,
life.
sure.
Just be good. Just be good. Oh, and going back to your naming your kids, Daryl says, "What a great way to name a business and a kid."
Yeah,
So, but thank you so much for sharing that principle about the importance of just being nice, just being kind, no matter who you are. We all put our pants on one leg at a time. Well, most of us. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And so there's nothing that makes one person better than another. And so it's great that you just like level the playing field. There's no prejudice or preference based on what somebody has or who somebody is. Just be good to everybody. I love
yeah.
that.
Now, you take it a step further, and if people are negative, I just don't ever go around those people or avoid them as much as possible. I stay around only positive people and people that
Mm,
mean good. So like in the beginning, when you first meet someone, you don't know, so you just treat everyone good. But once you see someone's negative and everything they say is negative, or just that aurora around them is not good, I don't go
mhm.
around those people. I make sure that those people don't ever call me, don't ever talk to me, don't ever come near me. I just let them know I can't hang around those type of people because it brings you down and everyone around you. So that's really important to only be around people that are positive.
That's good. Stay around positive people. Positive people promote positivity. I love that. And it's so true. And people used to tease me, and some people probably still tease me, that I'm always positive. I try anyway. I try really hard to be very positive and optimistic and hopeful and seeing the good in situations and trying to pull a positive um, thing out of different situations that can be really hard. And um, I made a post just recently about how some people used to call me a Pollyanna, and they thought they were insulting me by saying that because a Pollyanna is always a glass half full, rose-colored glasses, positive kind of upbeat person. But I considered it a compliment because it's a real skill to be able to be in a maybe what could be perceived as a negative situation and still find something positive out of it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's not an easy thing to do, but it to me it just comes naturally because it's in me and who I am that I want to see the good in people and I want to see the good and you know, positivity matters. I guess I'll put it that way.
it's real important.
um,
It's real important. Like it changes the way you live. Just being around the type of people that you're around. You know?
Absolutely. And Naomi agrees too. She said, who you're around matters more than most people realize.
Hmm.
So yeah, it truly, truly does. So now let's get a little bit into business and the growth. You've bought and sold over 400 businesses. What separates a successful business from struggling ones?
A successful business is a business that the owner doesn't have to be there. If the owner has to be there, it's not really a business, it's more of a job. So you've got to have good systems, you got to have good employees, you've got to have good partners, good managers, all that type of stuff. So a good business has all that. And then also a good business makes a minimum of somewhere in the six figures a year in profit. So I would say at least a couple 100,000 a year profit is where a good business starts. And so you need to be able to make 200,000 a year, be able to be on the beach somewhere, and not have to worry about the business falling apart. So you should be able to leave for a month at a time, and the business still runs. So that just means that you have to have really good managers, good partners, and good systems in place. Now you definitely need to have conversations with the employees or with the at least the manager or your partners to make sure that everything is going right. And if you see something that's not right, you change it. And the way to do that is just to look at the monthly P&Ls, the profit and loss statements, and just see, okay, month over month, did you make more or less in different things? Did you spend more on this, spend less on that, and just kind of figure out what's going good and what's going wrong and tweak stuff. So I would say to have a good business, you have to have that. And then you have to be able to have enough money to overcome different things. Because I know a lot of people that have profitable businesses that make a lot of money, but they don't have a lot of cash in the bank. So if you have a lot of receivables, a lot of people go bankrupt or go out of business because they're making a lot of money profit-wise, but they don't have enough money to pay the bills until the money comes in that they're selling, because a lot of people might have 30-day terms or 60-day terms. So you've got to make sure that you have enough money, or you're able to borrow money from someone that you can have it. So having not enough cash in the business is crucial. You've got to have good marketing. You've got to have good customer service. All these things together, good management, being able to handle employees. Without all that stuff, you're never going to have a super profitable business.
Right. Wow. What great words of wisdom. So you need to have great managers. You need to be able to take a vacation for a month and your business still run. You need to make sure that you have money in the bank. So cash flow can't be an issue waiting on people to pay you in order for your business to make money. And so are those the things that you look at when you're considering buying somebody's business? Like if they need to have all of these things in place before you'll even consider purchasing them?
Yeah, 100%. If I look at a business and the owner of the business is crucial to the business, meaning that if I buy the business and they leave, the business could go to zero. Like if all the customers rely on that person, if they're the main person that does everything, they're the face, they're the customer service, they're all that, you're not protected, because as soon as you buy it and now the customers don't see that person, they're all gone. So you have to make sure that it can run without them. And then, it's got to make a certain amount of money. If you're not making at least a couple $100,000 a year in profit, you're not able to do a lot of things. You have to, I want to buy businesses that are making more than that, but that's kind of like the minimum threshold, because if they don't make at least that, you're going to have to put a lot of your time in. You're not going to be able to hire good employees. You're not going to be able to add different things you want to add, because there's no money in there to do it. So it's just a disaster. And again, you're just probably buying a job, and at some point it's going to go down to where you're not profitable. So those are very, very important things. I always want to have a business that has a good manager in place. So when I take it over, it's seamless. There's not much stuff that even customers know that they see anything different.
Right.
So that stuff is very important. And then, like I said, they've got to be profitable. The only exceptions I make where businesses don't have to be profitable that I buy are when I already own a business that's similar, and I'm just taking that business and I'm just kind of combining it into my business. Then it doesn't necessarily have to, because I do that a lot too. It's called like bolt-ons, where I have a business and I'm just buying competitors or similar businesses and adding it to my business. The reason why those aren't as important is because I could get rid of a lot of the costs that they have. I could get rid of the accounting. I could get rid of the rents. I could get rid of just sometimes some employees. Although I like to keep all the employees, because that's a big asset. But I can keep all the stuff that makes the money and get rid of a lot of their costs. So a lot of times, if I'm buying a business that's similar, then there's some exceptions. But if I'm buying a business and I don't have any type of business that's similar, and I have to keep that as its own business, that stuff is crucial. And the other thing that's really important when you buy a business is that you get some sort of owner financing on it, no matter what.
Mm.
You could be a billionaire and you could have as much money as you need, but you still have to have owner finance when you buy a business. Because when I buy properties, I could do inspections, and I can figure out exactly everything, and pretty fast. Within the day, I know exactly what I'm going to have to spend. With a business, you can do due diligence for long periods of time and still not catch everything, because there's employees that you don't know all the information that that the owner maybe made deals with them and they don't have recorded. The customers, there's probably different customers you have different pricing tiers with, or different things. Maybe some customers buy once a year or twice a year. It might take a year to end up dealing with that customer again. You don't know what the deal is with them. So there's too many moving parts, and with vendors, different types of deals you have with them, and a lot of times you don't figure that out. So you have to ask the business owner that you're buying it from lots of questions about the business and how everything works. And you have to be able to have something over them to where if they lied to you or if they tricked you or something like that, you have some sort of clause that, look, you owner finance a certain amount of money. If you lied to me, or if I see that some of the stuff you told me is not true, at some point over the next year or 2 years, however long, that you're going to lose potentially all that money that I owe you, or a good amount of it. So that's the main reason why you have to do owner finance. Plus, when you buy a business, you don't want to have to put all your money in, because then your cash on cash return isn't as good. So you want to be able to do owner finance. But no matter how much money you have, again, the fact that you can get tricked a lot and lied to a lot in business, because you can't do all the due diligence over a course of a week or a month. A lot of things come up later. You have to have some sort of leverage over them to where they're not motivated to lie to you, and it'll actually hurt them to lie to you.
Right, right. Well, and that's where, contracts, documents, documents are so important to make sure that you're covered, because like you said, you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes it comes out in the wash way after the previous owner has left, and you're like, wait, what? I didn't see this. I didn't expect this. I didn't know anything about this. What are you talking about?
It happens all the time. It's not like it happens sometimes. Every business, there's stuff that you can't know everything until it comes up. And sometimes it's a year later, or sometimes even longer. So you've got to be protected against that type of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Now, going back to your business, your jewelry business, that business was so lucrative and doing so well. What attracted you to real estate, and why did you leave your jewelry business to start investing in real estate?
I actually did real estate before jewelry. I started real estate when I was 22. But
okay.
So the jewelry business, though, was a little bit after. This is in 2007. That's when I started. And the reason why I got out of it was because in 2011 was the peak of the, at the time, it's actually re-peaked again in the past year. But in 2011, that was the highest gold has ever been. It hit almost 1,900 an ounce, which was crazy. When I got into it, it was in the 600 an ounce range. And 2011 got to 19. And then 2012, it started to go down. 2013 it went down. 2014 it like got all the way down to almost $1,000 again, $1,100. So as gold went down, the market kind of faded away. Less people wanted to sell. It became less profitable. And in 2010, 11, when gold hit like crazy all-time highs, most people sold everything that they wanted to sell. So there was less available to buy. I made most of my money buying it. So the business just went from, taking off to being crazy profitable in 2010, 11, and 12. It started to dip, 13 dip more, 14 dip more, and it just became less profitable. And I had just other opportunities to get into that I thought would have been, better use of my time. So that's how I ended up getting out of the jewelry. If it was still making crazy money, I'd either still be in it at the time, or I was in the process of selling it to some big firms, but I started selling it to them too late, and by the time all of the diligence and everything was done, the market was going down every single month. So they ended up backing out because it was a downward trend. You don't want to buy businesses in a downward trend. You want to buy it in at least neutral or upward trend. Right. So it was bad timing when I was selling it. But the way I got into real estate was I was making tons of money. I already had $1 million saved by the time I was 19. I was making more money when I was 20, 21. I met a friend that had a landlord that was interested potentially in selling the property that my friend lived in. So my friend's like, "Do you want to buy my property and just rent it to me?" Because my landlord is looking to sell the properties, and he probably has a bunch of others. So I talked to him. I ended up buying that property and a few others. I became really good friends with this person I bought the property from. He taught me a lot of stuff about real estate over the years, and we made a lot of money together in real estate. I made some money on my own in real estate, and because he taught me what he was doing, I just duplicated it, and I did really well. And then obviously every year I learned a little bit more about it on my own, and just eventually just started doing a lot of real estate on the side along with my businesses. And in 2020, when COVID happened, real estate just took off, and businesses went to shit. All my businesses like basically closed down for a little while, and then when they reopened, they just never. They were just a small percentage of what it was before COVID, and real estate just became more and more popular. So I really spent most of my time on real estate since COVID, and instead of buying a few properties a year or 5 or 10, or if you're not buying a couple hundred plus a year, and that's my main focus. And then I started doing a lot more lending because I always did lending to some degree on a smaller scale, but once I got big into real estate, I saw the need for more people to need lending, and I've just been lending on real estate for a long time, but in the last 5 years on a really big scale. So I have about $40 million out in loans all the time for people in Georgia that are doing fix and flips, and I'm always buying 15 plus properties a month, a couple hundred a year now. And in the peak in 2020, 21, 22, when real estate was like crazy, that's when it was like the hottest. I was buying about 30 properties a month back then. And I was buying them, fixing, flipping them, or selling them to other investors. And I'd keep some as rentals. I paid cash for everything for the most part. So all the ones I paid cash for, I would fix and flip and sell just to turn the money. And then I also buy a lot of creative deals, meaning owner finance, or something called subject to, where people have a mortgage and I just take over their mortgage. So I buy about one of those every single month. And those are the ones that I add to my rental portfolio because they have really good interest rates. A lot of my owner finance deals I buy have 0% interest. And a lot of my subject to deals I buy are 2%, 3%, 4% interest rates, which cash flow really good as rentals because the interest rates are low. So those are the ones that I end up keeping now. And then all the ones I pay cash for, which is 90% of them, I turn them every month and make a certain amount per property.
Wow, that is so smart. I mean, that is just absolute brilliance, what you've done and what you've been able to build. So, excuse me, but with a large portfolio, I'm thinking with each property comes more work and comes more management and comes more different things that go along with buying a property. What principles have helped you build and manage such a large property portfolio?
Why? So if you go back to the way I run my businesses, I run my real estate the same way. What did I say? You have to be able to go to the beach for a month or longer at a time and nothing happens. So how do you do that? Well, we talked about that. You have to have employees, managers, partners, stuff like that. So with all my real estate, I have property managers. And I don't know, I have a lot of properties I've never even been to that I own. I bought them off pictures or whatever. And I have my property manager go there, assess them, do inspections, and rent them. And none of the tenants know who I am. So I don't get calls or anything like that. I just get a check in the mail, or they ACH me every single month for all the properties. And that's how I run them all. You got to have a good property manager. If you don't have a good property manager, it becomes a headache. But you have a full-time property manager that knows how to do everything. You really hands off with everything. I mean, once in a while, like if there's a big repair or something, they'll have to email you or something to approve it. But as long as it's under a certain amount, like they have pre-approvals to do anything under a certain dollar amount, and then over a certain dollar amount, they ask me, and we just figure out the best way to handle those expenses.
Wow, that's so good. And so the systems that you have in place are basically wash, rinse, and repeat with each and every property that you bring on, because you've already got the people in place who know their role. They stay in their lane. They do what they're supposed to do. And it's just now a well-oiled machine that you've developed over all this time. Lucille M. wants to know, did you ever buy something that you regretted?
Oh, 100%. Tons of stuff. I bought businesses I've regretted. I bought tons of properties I regretted. But anyone that's successful that has bought or sold or made money has plenty of things they regretted. But the cool thing is all that stuff that you regret, you learn from, and you don't let it happen again. So it's always better to learn from someone so you don't do as many stupid mistakes. But every person that's done well or that does a lot of things have done a lot of. So you've got to be willing to make mistakes. But you've got to make sure that the mistakes you make won't kill you. So you've got to be like, all right, look, here's the upside, here's the downside. Is it worth it? If it goes wrong, I'll still be alive, right? I'll still be able to eat. I'll still be able to move forward and get around it. So those are the types of things you have to look. But every single person's done stuff that they regret, and if they tell you they haven't, then they're just lying. So 100%. And there's many things that you would you regret that but as long as you learn from it, then it ends up being something that's okay.
Yeah, because it's serving a purpose, even if that purpose is just to further educate you into what not to do in the future.
Yeah. By the way, if you're in Atlanta, we have monthly meetups every like once a month. We do I do a meetup. It's in Sandy Springs, so I know you said you're in Stone Mountain, but yeah, anyone that's in the Atlanta market, if you reach out, I could tell you about those meetups, and we have different guest speakers every single time and food, and it's actually at one of my venues that I own. It's we have bowling and axe throwing and basketball games and all kinds of other cool games. So we play, we talk, we network, and do deals together.
Wow. Well, yes, we definitely want to learn more about that. And so we'll absolutely share that information as we get ready to wrap up the show in a few minutes, and be sure to include it in the show notes. We'll get back from you because I'm sure that there are many people, whether they're watching today or watch the replay later, here in Atlanta, who want to build that network of people to, be a resource to, or to learn from, or, just kind of get to know each other. It's pretty much a real estate meetup, right?
It's real estate. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is truly a great resource. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we can't wait to share that with the rest of our audience. So as we're thinking about investing and real estate investing, how can investors identify opportunities while managing risk effectively?
Yeah, so it all comes down to being able to underwrite deals. You've got to know what a deal is worth. If you know what a deal is worth, and then you also got to know how much a rehab was going to cost. So if you know how much a deal is worth and you know how much a rehab is going to be, then it's just a simple math formula. You figure out what it's worth. You have to make a certain amount deduction for profit and for different expenses, and then rehab, and then you have to buy it for that end number after you do the formula. And as long as you're buying stuff at that number, you're going to make money. And if you don't underwrite it right, you think it's worth more than it is, or the rehab's a lot more than you think, then you're going to lose money.
Right. So, and I'm sure that comes with experience, that comes with knowing, different people to kind of help you navigate what are all the line items to consider.
Yeah.
There's an appraisal, all the different comps in the area to know what something is worth. There's a lot, everyone in real estate knows.
And if you don't know how to underwrite or comp or all that stuff, to be super safe to where you're probably going to be okay, is you just go ahead and get a loan. If you get a loan, no one's going to loan you money more than it's worth. So if you think something's worth $300,000 and someone's only offering you $200,000 loan, you're probably wrong in what you think it's worth. It's probably worth less. But yeah, you can get appraisals. I don't ever get appraisals because I don't need to. I know the stuff better than the appraisers. But if you don't know it as well, you can get appraisals, but they end up costing money. You should just be able to. It's not that hard to be able to underwrite. It's I could teach somebody in less than an hour, and you could be an expert. But I actually have a YouTube video on just how to underwrite. If you watch that video, it's an hour video. I go in crazy detail of how to underwrite property. And if people that after they watch that, they're really good. So
now, hold on. I'm sorry, Abraham. For those that are watching the show who may not know what underwrite means, can you kind of define that for them?
Yeah, underwrite means that you look at a property and you're able to tell what it's worth. So it's you use comparables of other homes in the area of what they sold for, and there's other different ways to do it. But all underwriting is being able to tell what something is worth. That's what it means.
Okay. Got you. And there's different ways of doing that. And you
Yeah.
have your whole YouTube channel is fire. Let me just say that. So much information, it's like a university class going, learn with all the different topics that you talk about and teach on to help educate people. So thank you so much for that resource. We're showing one of your sites here, your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's so much education, so much knowledge to be gained by if people even are just curious to know, just what things are, definitions of things to consider, what matters in good deals. All these things are so super important. And it's when I see your YouTube channel, I'm thinking, why aren't you on HGTV? You should have like a whole show of your own.
I definitely could. I definitely do more real estate than anybody else in Atlanta for sure.
Right. We might need to hashtag them in our show notes. Say, look, HTTV, y'all missing out.
I definitely run across crazy, unique properties and crazy stories. Like I could probably have stories for months and years of all the different properties I get with some of the owners, some of what they look like, and what you have to do to some of them, and how people live. It's crazy.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, there's so many. They even have shows now like Ugliest House in America, different different competitions even, or who has the ugliest house. I mean, and then, what if you're able to take something that's so run down and to have the eye to see what could be, that vision, with a wall out here or an attic something there, all the different things. I mean, that's a inner creativity that a lot of people don't have. But when you're able to actually bring it to life, and then a whole family gets to live there and do life there, it's truly impactful and life-changing on so many different levels.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I cannot believe the time is almost up. What advice would you give to someone who wants to win at life, both financially and personally?
Well, 100%, we touched on it, but I would definitely make sure you're only around positive people. Even if you have relatives that are negative, don't kick them out of your life. Like, I don't care who they are. You're never going to be successful being around negative people, but make sure you're positive. Make sure you're only around positive people. Get around people that have done stuff in their life that you want to get to. So make sure you find people around you that are a little bit above you or a lot above you potentially, and hang around those people, and you'll learn so much more, and you'll just get so much further in life. That's what I try to do all the time. I try to get around people that are doing stuff that I want to do. And there's people that like that everywhere. I'm good at a few things. I'm really, really good at a few things, but I'm not good at most stuff. Like 90% of stuff, most people are better at than me. So if I want to get better at those 90% of the things that I'm not good at, I go around people that are good at those 90% of things. The 10% that I'm really good at, I'll help people with that stuff, and they help me with the stuff I'm not good at. And no matter who you are or where you're at, there's always things that you are better at than anybody else. And then, of course, there's tons of things that everyone around you is better at than you. So there's different ways that everyone can help everyone. And you just got to figure out what you want to get good at and find those people that are good at it. And I've had people tell me in the past, they're like, well, I'm not good at anything. Like, I can't help anyone in anything. And I've always been able to, I'm easily able to prove everybody wrong when they say that. So what I tell them is, look, how old are you? They're like, I'm 27. All right, cool. You're 27 right now. When you were 19, were there things in your life that if you knew now when you're 27, you would have been way more successful when you're 19? And they're like, oh yeah, I knew this. I'm like, oh fuck. Well, there's a whole bunch of things that you know way better than your 19-year-old self. How many people don't know what you knew when you were 19 that you know now, and you can help those type of people? And they're like, oh wow, there is a lot of stuff I know now that if I knew 2 years ago, I would have been better. 5 years ago, I would have been better. 10 years ago. And so people just got to think about what you know now that you didn't know then. And there's so much stuff that you're good at that you don't even know you're good at, and that other people could use that knowledge. So that's just a quick way I show people. I get in more depth with it, but that's just a quick way that anyone that listens to this right now knows that there is definitely things that you are really good at now that you didn't even realize if you look back at, if you knew that stuff a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, how much better you would have been off then.
Yes, 100%. And those are called where the way I was trained in leadership is I see in you conversations.
Mhm.
So because sometimes people see things in us that we don't see in ourselves. And so it just takes one person to kind of plant a seed that says, inside you is greatness. Inside you is a leader. Inside you is a warrior. Inside you is, someone who's a fighter. And, and to have somebody speak these words, into your ears, it's like the seed can then start to germinate. Whereas if you never hear anyone saying those things, then it's like, that's for someone else. It's not for you. Do you know what I mean? But it just takes one person speaking into another one, planting a seed for you to start thinking thoughts that you never thought you'd think. And once you start doing that, then there's a smidge in there to build on that says, maybe there is something to me. Maybe I do have something to offer. Maybe I am a leader. Maybe I am a great business owner. You know what I mean? And so I love that you do that for people and help people understand and identify that within themselves. Because a lot of us people think that whatever we've seen in life or however we grew up, that's where we're supposed to go, or that's all we're supposed to have or all we're supposed to be. But if we want more, we need to hang around those other people who have more so that we can almost like borrow their mindset and to help build our own success until we get it ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And you just brought up mindset. Mindset's like crucial. No matter what, if you have a good mindset, you're going to be good at life. And people ask me, I'll leave this last thing before we go. People ask me, are you ever stressed out, or do you ever down on yourself and this and that, or, upset? Very rarely do I get like that. It's very rare. And you're like, well, how? Don't things go bad? Yeah, things do go bad. In all the time, things go bad. But the reason why I don't get upset about it or really frown about it because the way that I could look at it, and everyone should do this, is no matter what just happened to you, no matter how bad it was, look at some other people that are in worse shape than you are. No matter what, there's always people that are worse than you, and they're able to survive and they're able to do stuff. You're better off than so many people. No matter how bad off you think you are, you just got to see how good you are compared to so many other people that are out there. And just know that you're blessed, that you're better than so many other people. Don't look at this one bad. It's going to turn around. Think about different times when other things went bad and how you got over it and how things ended up being better at some point. It's going to happen again. You're going to overcome and you're going to get better. And once something bad happened, there's nothing you can do about it. It's over. It happened. Like, move on. Like, now make sure it doesn't happen again, but don't dwell on something that's bad, and just see other people around you that are in worse shape than you and that had better, worse luck and not as good of lives, and just realize that you are actually way better off than you think.
Absolutely. Nia says 100%. And that's one of the things I try to do as well. My cousin pointed out to me that I have this subconscious way of saying, well, at least it's not fill in the blank.
Yeah.
I never even realized that I said that so much. But I do, because some situation can always be worse. Your life is so much better than so many other people's lives. And with that mindset comes an attitude of gratitude. When you start being more grateful for what you have and stop dwelling on what you don't have, or stop personalizing those mistakes like you are the mistake instead of a situation, those things matter and really affect how we think about ourselves. How we think about ourselves is so crucial. Like you said, we have to stay positive about ourselves and not get down on ourselves. Don't beat ourselves up. Yes, we're going to make mistakes, but that doesn't mean that we are the mistake. A mistake is what was made. It's not who we are. And so, we don't want to continue living like that. So super quick, what's next for Abraham Gray?
So I'm going to do a lot more of the same because I don't really want to do too much different. But what's really cool now is that my kids are at an age where now they're starting to come to the office. And so I'm teaching them everything. I have a 17-year-old. He actually turns 18 like in a week. And then I have a 16-year-old, same, is about to turn 17 pretty soon. So they're in the office, and we're just going through. I'm teaching them all the stuff I did, and they've been pretty successful over the last 6-9 months, just learning from me. And I think that just showing them how I do everything and get them to be able to do it all, that's pretty much the next step, and just do a lot more of what I'm doing.
Yes, I love that. Building a legacy and creating generational wealth. I love, love, love that so much. So before we head out, where can listeners connect with you and learn more?
Well, of course, Facebook, Abraham Gray. I always respond to everyone. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not on as much. Instagram. And then, of course, my YouTube channel. I respond to all the comments. And if someone needs to get a hold of me, if you're in Atlanta, let's connect in person. Come to some meetups, or we could connect and figure out ways to do stuff together. And then my email. My email is the fastest. If someone emails me, I respond to emails like crazy fast. That's my name, Abraham, Abraham, at 6 letters, MMA, like mixed martial arts, and ATL, like Atlanta.com. So Abraham at MMAATL.com. And I respond to emails like super fast.
I love that. And I was going to ask you about that MMA, but that'll have to wait till one of the meetups.
I've done martial arts my whole life since I was a kid, and off and on. And I've been doing it like a lot for the last 15 years. And I had some MMA. I had 6 MMA fights, and I own a bunch of martial art gyms, so I train all the time and stuff like that.
Wow. Oh, how cool. See, we learned something new about Abraham Gray again. Well, Abraham, this is so amazing. Thank you so much for your time today. You were made for something great. So go and be awesome.